The Ark of the Covenant has been a source of speculation and intrigue for well over a millennium. But what if in the Middle Ages it was discovered by a band of English Knight Templars and brought back to England? And what if, just prior to that order's suppression, they left a series of clues as to where the Ark is located? Time to decipher, here on Things Visible and Invisible. Graham, the last time we spoke about the Ark of the Covenant, it had made a really interesting journey from just the other side of the Jordan. A group of English Templars went and retrieved it and surreptitiously brought it back to England and then hid it in the English countryside. The Templars are no more. The Templars were dissolved, suppressed in history and disappeared. So what happened to their treasure trove?
Well, what had happened is that the last of the Templars died of the Black Death. The place that they actually, their last church, their chapel, if you like, was a place called Burton Dasset on top of a hill. Their original preceptory, their kind of headquarters, if you like, was in the valleys below these hills in Warwickshire. But they moved the chapel up to the top of the hills and stayed there, and basically shot arrows at anybody who got near them to try and keep the Black Death away. But this church that they built on top is known as Burton Dasset Church. It still survives today. And what happened is that they, as they all knew that the first ones came down with this disease, a few of them decided to start leaving clues, and they've left kind of written instructions to people saying, I think that what they were hoping for is if ever Templars survived and came there, they would be able to unravel these clues because it would mean something to them, but other people would be left ignorant. They wouldn't be able to unravel these clues. So that's how it was left. They'd hidden their treasures, which included the Ark, supposedly, and they certainly hidden treasure. So whether anyone believed the Ark was amongst them was irrelevant. And as I said before, when last time I was here, Sir Walter Raleigh was one of the people who the explorer, Sir Walter Raleigh, was one of the people who went in search of this and built and bought up the area and had digs going on all over the place, didn't find anything. Ultimately, people began to think, well, there's obviously not clues. There's no clues anywhere. There's nothing in the church until the late 19th century, when they were renovating the church. It's now a Church of England. And at that time, there were still plenty of people going there to worship, but it needed repair. And when they removed the plaster from the walls to redecorate, they found that underneath the plaster, there were all these strange murals, these paintings that later were dated to be put there by the last of the Templars. And they showed religious figures. They showed a man holding a severed head. It seems to be connected with St. John the Baptist. They thought John the Baptist was very important, and John the Baptist's head, because he had his head chopped off according to the Bible, was considered important to them, a relic. There was other religious things like that. And there was all sorts of strange hieroglyphics, or shall we say, ciphered writing that didn't seem to mean anything to anyone. Well, a local historian, a man called Jacob Cove Jones, thought, this has got to be it. He knew about the legend of the Templar treasure. He said, this has got to be the clues. Now, as he started to decipher what all these clues meant, he was an expert on the Knights Templars, and he began to sort of put it all together. These murals on the wall began to crumble away, exposed to the air for the first time in centuries. Now, today, they have preservation methods. They didn't have any back then. So if you go there today, there's only a few bits and pieces of these amazing murals left. But Jacob Cove Jones believed he'd actually deciphered them. He also considered by 1906, I think it was, that he knew where this treasure was hidden. But by this time, he was ill and he was dying of what they call consumption, which is TB. So he wasn't well. He couldn't look for it himself. And he decided that what he was going to do, because he knew that these original paintings were falling apart or gone now, that he was going to, rather than just tell people for reasons best known to himself, he decided to kind of immortalize himself by leaving his own clues as to where he deduced that the Templars had left this treasure. And he did that in the form of a stained glass window that he'd had paid for to be designed and installed in a little church that was being built in his village, a place called Langley in Warwickshire, not far from these Burton Dasset Hills. And it was in that supposedly he'd left clues as to where the Templars' treasure was that he'd never dug up. Now, I eventually met his great granddaughter, who said that her family had been looking for this for a number of years. Then they decided that Jacob Cove Jones had just gone senile, and there was no clues in this window at all. So it was then, back in 2000, that I decided to see if I could solve the riddle in this window.
Well, I mean, there's a number of questions there. I mean, what do you make of this character at the end of the 19th century? Do you think that he put clues in, or do you think that it was just a family legend?
I thought at first it was just a family legend. I mean, I was writing a book about the Ark of the Covenant and different beliefs about it, and this is just one. But when I saw the window, I started to think, I don't know, there might be something in it. It's called the Nativity window. It's not a big stained glass one. It's a tiny church. In fact, one of the smallest churches in England, apparently. And it's a kind of lancet-shaped window pointed at the top. And it's called the Epiphany window because it doesn't depict the Ark of the Covenant, which is what I was expecting. It depicts the three wise men visiting baby Jesus in the stable, which is said to have occurred on Epiphany night, which is the 12th night of Christmas, the 5th to the 6th of January. And I thought, that's weird. Why would they be doing that? And at the more I looked at it, the more I realized there were things in that picture that didn't tie up at all with the whole story of the wise men and Jesus. And what really grabbed my attention and to make me think, hold on a minute, I think there is some clues here, is that right in the center of the window, it seems, if you're just looking at it casually, you think it's one of the wise men holding a casket in his hand, a golden casket. But it's this really weird conical shaped thing in the shape of a tower with a castellated, like battlements around the top, and a conical shaped roof, a really sandy, really strange gold sandy colored thing. Now, I'd already been investigating the Templars, and I knew that one of the things that they built just before they died out at Burton Dasset on the top of the hills there near their church was this strange conical tower without a door and with a pointed kind of pointed conical roof. And it was what was being depicted in the middle, dead center of this picture. So it was actually telling us, hold on, that tower's important. What's more is that in the middle of the tower was depicted a picture of a phoenix, the bird rising from the flames. And that tower is known as Phoenix Beacon. So I thought there's got to be clues in there.
And of course, Graham, you'll be familiar that many of the patristic writers linked the Ark of the Covenant with Mary carrying the baby Jesus in the womb, and subsequently there was a sort of allegory of the Ark of the Covenant with that, which was no doubt also something with that idea of the Epiphany, the showing, the revealing, which is what the Ark of the Covenant ultimately is about. It's the revealing of God's law, I guess, as Moses would have said. So this set you off.
Well, Jesus called himself the New Covenant.
Correct, absolutely. So there's lots of linkage there with that image that you're describing so well in the church. But there's one thing to look at a stained glass window and think, yes, that might be connected. There's another thing then to become a kind of modern day Indiana Jones and head off searching for it. I mean, how do you go about searching for the Ark of the Covenant in the English countryside?
Well, it basically came down to staring at that window. I mean, I took pictures of it and took it home, and I stared at photographs of that window for ages, trying to figure things out. And ultimately, I mean, this didn't happen overnight, and I had some help with this, with other people that were doing it with me. But ultimately, I thought, okay, the wise men, how did they find baby Jesus? They followed a star, and the star is depicted at the top of the window. And I thought, what is still going to be around now that was around in Templars times if they're going to leave clues? I mean, motorways are going to dig up a lot of stuff, and houses, get built, and churches fall down. And okay, well, and I thought, stars don't change, not that much over a few years, in a few centuries. They don't move that much. They're going to, and then they weren't expecting it to be centuries and centuries later. They were expecting someone to come within a couple of decades, perhaps, from Europe. Somebody had survived to follow these clues. They couldn't get a message out to them. So, okay, that was the way of doing it. So I thought, okay, stars will still be there. So maybe we've got to follow a star, but which one? But in fact, in the window, what was weird is it showed two stars, one on top of another. So I thought, two stars? Cutting a long story short, right next to the two stars was also shown in the window the phoenix bird again. And I thought, that's going to refer to the Phoenix beacon. Maybe that's why the Templars did it. It's the highest point for miles around. Go to the Phoenix beacon and see two stars. First of all, which stars? Well, right next to the either side of the eagle of the phoenix in the window, right next to the star, are two letters, B and M. And again, cutting a very long story short, I finally worked out that these two stars were Benetesh and Mitzar, which are the two tail stars of the Big Dipper, or the Plough, as we call it in England, part of the Great Bear. Mm-hmm. And I knew at certain times of the year, particularly in winter, those two stars point almost directly downwards at certain times of the day. And I was thinking, okay, could they be pointing to maybe when you go to the beacon, you have to look, if it's clear, you see these two tail stars, Benetesh and Mitzar, pointing downwards, maybe to the horizon or somewhere, that's where they put it. That would make sense. But then I thought, but when would I go? What time? Well, the interesting thing, at the top of the window, there was a cockerel there. And according to the early Christian legend, when the three wise men arrived in Bethlehem, they didn't know exactly where to go. The star was there, they'd followed it. But according to early Christian tradition, it was when a cockerel crowed at midnight. The cockerels crow, whatever they do, wow, wow. At midnight, when a cockerel called out at midnight, which is unusual, they realized that he was on a stable, and that was where they went and found the baby Jesus. So midnight, when the cockerel cried at midnight. So, okay, midnight, the two stars seen from where you are at the top of this hill by this beacon, the Phoenix beacon. What day? Of course, the Epiphany window, Epiphany Day, the 12th night of Christmas. So anyway, it was a bit difficult to actually wait to go up to that and look at that stars on that night. And anyway, what would happen if it was all overcast? So I was able, now you could just do it on your phone. You can get these, show where the stars are from any place at any day in history. You just put in a date, put in a place, and it will show you where the stars all are, and you just move your phone around. They didn't have this back in 2000. I had to go to a planetarium at Hertford University in England, and we went there and they showed me exactly where the stars would point down. And so I had a map, and we knew that from the beacon on that 12 o'clock on Epiphany night, the stars pointed down to a hill on the horizon. And that's where we decided to go.
Wow, that's absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. I mean, just as an aside, Graham, what's it like being a sort of modern day adventurer in this field? I mean, it must have been very, very exciting to make these connections, to make these discoveries, let alone discovering anything. I mean, just this kind of puzzle that you're working out. Surely that's exciting in itself, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I love doing this sort of thing. I can tell it now, and I've condensed the whole thing down. It sounds as if, oh, you just followed it and you didn't go off any sort of dead ends. But believe me, there are so many dead ends. I could write books after books of, about the dead ends where I never got anywhere. But you have to be prepared to do that. So sometimes it can be equally frustrating as it can be fun when it's working out right.
Well, unfortunately, time has beaten us again, Graham. And anyway, for the denouement, people are going to have to go and buy your book and read it to find out what happened next. But you set it up absolutely wonderfully there, Graham. This is a modern adventure. And I know you've been on many other adventures. You were on the show earlier talking about the mystery of the Doggerland. We'd love to have you back again. You seem to be a one-man prolific author when it comes to this type of lore, and we love it very, very much. So for now, Graham, thank you so much for coming on the show. Tell people where they can find out more about you and where they can pick up a copy of the Templars and the Ark of the Covenant.
Pick up a copy on Amazon, and my website is grahamphillips.net.
For now, Graham, thank you so much for coming on Things Visible and Invisible.
Thank you, Seán.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Things Visible and Invisible. We're dedicated to uncovering phenomena that challenge our understanding of reality, from ancient enigmas and paranormal encounters to scientific anomalies and forgotten histories. If you enjoyed this journey into the mysterious and unexplained, please consider subscribing to our channel and hitting the notification bell to stay updated on future explorations. Have a personal experience or story that aligns with our investigations? We'd love to hear from you. Visit our website at tvi.show and reach out through our contact form. While we can't feature every submission, we review them all, and your story might be featured in an upcoming episode. To support our continued investigations, please consider becoming a Patreon supporter or channel member. Your contributions make these explorations possible and give you access to exclusive content, early releases, and monthly behind-the-scenes discussions with our team. Don't forget to check out our merch store. We've got everything from TVI-branded t-shirts and hoodies to stickers and coffee mugs, perfect for showing your support while keeping the mysteries close. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time as we continue to explore the things visible and invisible.